see through the challenges when things are tough. As a child, you must be humble, and you must benefit from, you must accept when there's opportunity that not everybody gets opportunity, so that makes you understand and appreciate what you get. I think another one would be commitment and dedication to a cause and purpose. It's never early to teach children to be dedicated to a certain cause, whether it's cleaning your room, whether it's taking care of the pets, whether it's doing a little gardening, doing your homework, but being dedicated, finishing your homework before you play. So I think humility, dedication and integrity.
Oh, nice. Oh, what would you say?
Yes, I would also start by saying that values are what we place importance on. So a value is what you think as something important and worth pursuing.
Right.
So I think that as a family or as a parent, one key value to place on your child or to teach your child is the value of hard work. Because there are times that some people want to attain successes without working hard.
Right.
So working hard is a value which must be instilled in our children at the very beginning.
Right.
I want to share the idea with you about honesty. To be honest. To be honest means to be truthful. Sure. All your dealings and what we are doing, and be able to stand out even when others are being dishonest. To say this is my value. I place premium on this behavior. To be honest, and I'll add to be humble. Humility.
To join in humility.
Sometimes a person's success can be dependent upon how humble the person is.
Yeah.
Out of the many, you may all be intelligent, you may all be hardworking, but you may have additional trait that is being humble.
Yeah.
And that can take you farther than those who are also hardworking but not as humble as you are. Okay. So hardworking, honesty, humility are key values that I think parents, families must instill in their
children. Okay. Now, the points you've raised are, I would say, perfect. Now, I want to look at our environment and see whether those values are actually carried out on a day-to-day basis, and whether we can actually still instill these values. Considering when, let's talk about humility, for instance. We're in a society whereby people who are loud, foul-mouthed, speak ill of others, criticize, are hailed. And those are the people, Charlie the guy they be, and these are the kind of things that are being portrayed as normal and as being somebody that you should aspire to. So if that's the case, how are we able to, or how do we go ahead and instill humility?
That's a good question. Talking about society hailing you as being foul-mouthed and insulting people and talking ill of others, and you are being hailed by society.
And in a situation whereby we're even putting them in the hands of other people, how is it that we are going to raise honest children when we have these kind of challenges?
The question is, from day one, do we think about honesty as something worth pursuing? Adding to your question, and the answer is no. Do Ghanaians think of honesty as something worth pursuing? Even though I have no any scientific basis, but on a daily basis, when you meet with people and interact with people, when you appear to be honest in your dealings, you appear to be a strange person, because in the midst of dishonesty, honesty now becomes abnormal.
That's right.
So I think this parent you've mentioned thought that, well, I've heard about honesty and I've taught that to my children, but in the midst of passing exams and going to the next stage of the educational ladder, if I depend on honesty, my child will not go. And I don't mind doing something dishonest to make sure he or she goes to the next level. So I think dishonesty beyond the school level, where parents can bribe to have their children go to school or go to the next stage of education, people become dishonest genuinely to achieve results. And it can be to make more money, to attain education, to get a partner, a wife or a husband. So dishonesty has become like a value, so to speak, and people value it. And where you want to become honest, then you appear to be
abnormal,
the strange
outcast.
person.
I don't. You wanna.
Yes, it is reflective of our general society. There's dishonesty in all aspects of our lives today. whether it's somebody cheating on the side of the road, creating a third lane on the side of the road, and then the people who want to be honest and remain on the road are the ones who get inconvenienced, because you end up sitting there for 30 minutes and people are moving on the side. And so, it reflects a general decrease in discipline and the moral fiber of our nation. People want to pay a bribe to get their child into a certain school, like he said, and all sorts of things. And so it calls on, the religious bodies, the teachers, the traditional leaders. I mean, for instance, if you look at something like the way the environment is so filthy in Ghana, the rivers are choked with plastics, and there must be a more you go to most churches today and everybody is preaching about financial prosperity, how you get into the kingdom of heaven with these rewards, and we are sitting in filth, and they say cleanliness is next to godliness.
Yes.
So how do we have all these religious bodies around and we live in filth? If you travel outside, you come back and you wonder, what are we doing? And yet we have so many educated people. So it's an indictment on all of us to start being serious about the real objectives that we have as citizens, and to call a spade when it's required. But it's reflective of our society. We've lost a lot of moral value, and we need to bring moral education back into schools, so that children will learn from the beginning, that this is wrong. We don't do this. We don't cheat to do this.
Yeah. Okay. Now we've mentioned religious, societies and leaders being somewhat responsible for the upbringing of the youth. We've mentioned teachers. Now let's focus on parents for a second, because we said, we've established that parents are the first point of call when it comes to instilling these values. But if the parents themselves have certain
issues,
value deficiencies, shall we say, how are we meant to instill them in our children?
So that is where the burden now lies on other institutions beyond the family, like educational institution, religious institution. If a father is a dishonest father, let's even give him the benefit of the doubt that he may teach his child to become honest. Maybe he was dishonest for some reason and is not more happy of being dishonest. So he or she may teach the child to be an honest person. But a dishonest father who teaches the child to become dishonest, when he or she grows up and goes to school and meets other people who are honest in their dealings, he can learn from the school, from religious leaders, and come home to kind of oppose the father's view of life. And it is possible that a person who is grown up can say, now, I think I can think alone, and your idea of doing things, I'm not happy about those ideas, and so I want to do my things differently. Of course, if it should be your father who is a dishonest father, I'm not sure God will punish you for disobeying a dishonest father, or a father who is deficient in values.
Yeah.
So, but if a child who is dishonest has a dishonest father and goes out there and becomes more dishonest, then that becomes a problem to all of us, because we all suffer from that dishonesty. But the issue is society. If I want to become honest as an individual, and I feel constrained by other people, I'll have a challenge. I would have to be a Superman to withstand the pressure from your own family, from friends who are dishonest, from teachers who are dishonest, and you want to become honest.
Yeah.
And you face these headaches everywhere you go. You need to have a strong heart in order to say, well, even though I am a small part of society which is dishonest in nature, I'll become honest. It's between me and my God, and you can go on with dishonesty and all that. But that would be a big challenge to society, to have many people who are dishonest, from dishonest parents.
To finish up here, I mean, with all the values that we've discussed and all the situations that we've discussed, what would be your advice to generally, I mean, the public out there, when it comes to holding values important?
I think that we all need to realize the collective role. There's a saying that it takes a village to raise a child. And there's a collective role that is played. So whether a child is not towing the line, whether it's a father that's not towing the line, it might take the brother to speak to the father. Your brother's keeper. And let him know that this is no way you should be treating my nephew, or my niece will learn bad things if you continue doing this, this behavior. And so it calls for the collective effort of everybody to realize that the principles that we instill in children today will reflect the sort of environments that we create tomorrow. And so if we're looking for a bright Ghana, we need to instill proper principles in children.
And the children growing up, because for the grown-ups, I think we have lost that generation. So let's pay attention to those now coming up, and then hope that when we are gone, they'll come up and build a better Ghana.
And I'm sure you all know the song as well, the first few lines of the lyric. I believe the children are our future. Teach them well and let them lead the way.
Yeah.
That's it. All right, I want to say a big thank you for coming in this morning and talking shop with us. We've been talking about the values that we should try and impact into our children. We've had Dr. Anam Zoya. He is senior lecturer at the University of Ghana Sociology Department, and also Mr. Edwin Bafo, who is a PR consultant and social commentator. Thank you both for coming in this morning.